and welcome to the new video. If you have any questions about the video, leave a comment below. So this is my updated guide from 3.20 when I was playing as a league starter of the frostblink Ignite Elementalist. And a lot of things did change from that time. So I had a very specific goal while creating this build. I wanted to create this build as cheaply as possible, do not use any like cluster jewels, tattoos, anything that cannot be bought in the first week of the league relatively cheaply. So the build is really great at mapping, as you can do it relatively fast. You can do some bossing, you're gonna see me have some clips that you can watch. The bossing is not the fastest, but you can actually kill them like relatively not too fast, not too slow. I would say it's quite okay, but that's what you expect from an Ignite build. It's not like I'm gonna press the button and there's gonna be 100 million damage on a budget below 5 divines. We have to have some kind of realistic expectation from the build. And instead of doing a traditional way when you just buy yourself a 6-link body armor and then you have your skill in your body armor, I took a different approach. I'm socketing everything in my boots. So the boots provide me with like a hefty good amount of damage, and they are one of my favorite boots, Stampede, but this time I'm using a replica. In the video description I will leave two POV. The first one is that you see on the screen, and that's what I play. The second POV is something that I would do if I wanted to scale the build, or to just improve the build more and more and get more power, if you're interested of like scaling the build. The build has 3 problems, I would say, but currently they can be very easily fixed, but obviously I don't know if the tattoo is gonna go core next league, so have that in mind that you're probably gonna encounter those problems. The first one is lack of good option of you cannot be stunned. Sure, we can use Brine King and that's gonna help out, but we're gonna lose the Soul of Arakali, and since we are low on the chaos resistance, that leads me to the second point. Chaos resistance is actually low. This could be easily fixed with the tattoos and you wouldn't have any problems, but the question becomes, does the tattoo gonna go core next league? And the last problem is like the crit, but again, the crit damage, that's what I mean, but we can fix that with just the tattoos. So now we can just enjoy a couple clips of me killing some guardians and a shaper.
Prepare yourselves! Go! When I'm ready.
We will persevere.
For the bandit choice, we're choosing to kill all of the bandits and gaining 2 passive points. So the Pantheon choice, we're gonna be using the Sword of Aracali. Since we are struggling to capping our chaos resistance, this is gonna help you out with the damage over times. So for the minor gods, we have 2 choices. Either I would use Sword of Baran if you're running the red altars, as the burning ground would just, like, you know, shred you like very nicely. Or you can use Soul of Shakari for, you know, for the less chaos damage taken. So there's a choice between them 2 over here. You know, depends on the situation. The ascendancy points are very straightforward. First we go in Shaper of the Flames, as we want our frostblink to ignite. Then you go in for the Master of the Discord for the exposure. Then Heart of Destruction is gonna give you a little bit more AoE while you're gonna be mapping, and while you're gonna be bossing, that's gonna give you a little bit more elemental damage. And last, I would say there's 2 options. Either you can go Shaper of the Storm for more damage, or you can go Bastion of Elements if you just wanna get a little bit more tankiness. So the last 2 points, either you want more damage or you wanna get a little bit more tankier. This choice is up to you. Flasks I'm using are not that really important. I'm just using a life flask with the bleeding immunity, evasion flask with I'm rolling reduced charge use on all of my flask. Then I'm using a sapphire for the bleeding and the corrupted blood. Then I'm using amethyst flask for the chaos resistance because I'm kind of low, so this flask really helped me out when I'm mapping. And the last flask is pretty much is like whatever, because I had no idea what to put. I expect just to put another resistant flask, so I'm just using a phasing flask with the Katarina mod for the region life. That's just help me out a little bit while mapping, but you can just adjust your flask however you want. There's nothing too important in the flask setup. Right, so replica of Stampede boots are a core piece of this build, and I'm building around those boots. In other words, what does that mean? That you have to buy them no matter what. Currently they are very cheap. Let me just quickly check it, how much they do cost, because you need pretty much any kind of roll. So they go with around 20C. And why do we build around it? They work pretty much similar to basic version of the Stampede, that you get your movement speed at cap at 150% base value. You can anoint it. I'm using Ash, Frost and Storm. This is like a decent enchantment. And then there's a very important line: socketed travel skills deal 80% more damage. The top one that you see. This is very important because that's pretty much are 2 good gems. In other words, you have something like a 6-link in your boot, but the positive side is that socketed travel skills line does not add a mana cost to your boot. Therefore, you're only paying about 56 mana for your frostblink. And since I'm converting my energy shield into my mana pool, I don't have any mana issues. So that's why I think the Stampede's replica were better than just going the traditional route of having a 6-linked and then having a ridiculous amount of cost of the skill. I think you're gonna get about 120 or more. So you end up like using something like a life tap, and then you're gonna be spending even more. So that's why I think it's better to just build around those boots. And the links that you're gonna be using is you're gonna be using frostblink. Then you're gonna be using Call to Fire. You need to have the Call to Fire no matter what, because you need to convert the cold damage from the frostblink into the fire. Then we're using Unbound Elements, and deadly elements. This is a very important. Deadly element has to be, you have to use it. You cannot replace this gem, as we need to lower our the hit portion of the frostblink, because otherwise you're gonna be just destroying the corpses, because I'm using a pyre, and you won't see any ignites proliferation happening. That's why this is a very important gem in our setup. And of course, if you get more currency, you can just upgrade those two into awakened ones. And for your two weapons, you're gonna be using a replica called Iron Point. This is very important. It has to be a replica, because the replica will give you +3 cold spells gems, and that's gonna scale our frostblink. So you're using two of them over here. But the links that you're gonna be keeping in your dodges is gonna be Wyrming Blade, Culling Strike, and Faster Attack. And the second one is Steel Skin, Inspiration, Increased Duration. So my amulet of choice is a newly added replica of Dragon Fang. This is a great amulet, as we get pretty much, we're using all of the modifiers from this amulet, such as +3 to your frostblink, resistance are great, reservation is good, and the item and gem reduction of the attribute is great as well. And I'm anointing Divine Judgment. This just increased a little bit of my elemental damage, and you could apply 20 catalysts for the attributes, so you're gonna get a little bit more stats. So the rings that we're gonna be using, the first we're gonna be using Pyre, because we need the Pyre to convert the cold damage into a fire. And you're gonna be applying 20 catalysts for the elemental damage modifier to take that base value of 40% to 48%. And the rest of the stats on your pyre is pretty much how much currency you can spend. You can get yourself a little bit more increased burning damage. This generally will increase your damage. And the resistance are pretty much, if you need them, then go for it. If not, just buy the cheapest one. The second ring, you can use the Polaric Devastation simply for the cover enemies in the ash when you hit them, right? So that just gives us a little bit more damage, since we're gonna increase the damage taken from the fire if you hold out on the covered in ash. Or you can use Barrack. Barrack will give you like a huge spread of ignites and shock. This ring gonna make your clear speed on the maps feel very, very good. So depending what point of the league are you, and how cheaply or expensively the items are in this situation rings, you can use either one of them. Both of them are great. Generally, Polaric Devastation is better all around, like bosses, rares, and any other content, while Barrack is mainly just used for mapping. For the belt, you have two choices. The first one would be the Dorianis, simply for the 0.6 fire damage as life as this is the only reasonable item that we can get some fire leech, and it gives you some resistance and increased fire damage. But generally you're gonna be losing a lot of utility from if you would go with like a normal rail belt, because I'm having some flat life, chaos resistance that I need, and I have some energy shield to reduce flask charges, and I have my mods that do regen 150 ES. Well, these are rare or unique enemies. This is not necessary that you need to have this mod. It simply is good to have it whenever you pop some kind of a rare and you're gonna have some kind of less recovery or whatever mod. This just helps you out sustaining your ES, and this help you up spamming your skills. So Cloak of Flames is a great body armor that we're gonna be using. Since provide us with a bit of a fire resistance, increases our duration of our ignites, and then we convert 40% damage taken to fire, and this is like very, very important. And the links that you're gonna be keeping in your Cloak of Flames, it goes to Arcanist Brand, then we go, the next link should be Flammability, then we're using Wave of Conviction, but Wave of Conviction can be swapped for any kind of spell, as this spell just gonna apply combustion for us, so you could replace it for whatever you want. I'm just keeping the Wave of Conviction because automatically apply exposure on most of the enemies, so that's why I like the Wave of Conviction, but you can replace it to whatever spell you would choose. And lastly, we're using some flame surge just to get a little bit more single target damage. Just remember, if you would try to remove Web of Conviction and replace it with some kind of different gem, flame surge cannot ignite. So what that means, you're never gonna get the combustion debuff. That's why you need the Wave of Conviction in your body armor. And if I had a 6-link, probably I would do maybe a cooling strike just to, you know, cool the bosses a bit faster, or you could use whatever pretty much you want as a last link. So for the helmet, you're gonna be using a heat shiver. And tell you the truth, I had no idea what kind of link can we use in the helmet, so I'm using something like a cast when damage taken, arc, life gain, hit, and cooling strike. But you can pretty much socket whatever you want in this helmet. So let me just say like this: there is a popular helmet for Ignite builds called Eye of Malice that you can see on the screen, but I would say like this: this is a totally bait helmet and you should never use it, as this helmet will give you the same amount of damage as a heat shiver. But if you run into a map, something like a monster we have a lot of, let's say, fire and cold resistance, and you're gonna roll your map into to have more resistance, that helmet, the Eye of Malice, will reduce your damage. So that's why I don't use it. A heat shiver will always provide you with a little bit damage, because we're just using the line that we gain extra cold damage to a fire per chill, and most of the time you do about 20% chill on the enemies. So for the gloves, you're just gonna be using a standard rare pair of gloves, and you're just looking for something like you're probably gonna be looking for T1 lightning resistance, because you're gonna be low on the lightning resistance. You're gonna be looking for some kind of open suffix, so you can craft yourself a hybrid mode such as lightning and the chaos. Then I got myself a little bit strength and a little bit life. But they have to be a standard pair of rare gloves, because you wanna get yourself an implicit when you apply a fire exposure on the hit, and you have your ignite proliferation from your gloves. That's why this is very important. If you wouldn't have those gloves, let's just say you're gonna use something different and you cannot change the implicit, you would be forced to use some kind of ignite proliferation game in your boots, or you could get it on maybe on a medium cluster jewel. But I don't think it's too hard just to spam the lesser orbs just to get yourself those two implicit. They are relatively easy to get, and I would recommend just getting yourself like a energy shield and armor base, because you're trying to hit about 300 energy shield, so then you can just spam your frostblink all the time without worrying that you're gonna run out of energy shield. And the links that you're gonna be using in your gloves is gonna be Enlighten level 3, Purity of Elements, Malevolence, and Grace. I know that people like to ask what is the cost of the build. While I was creating the build and buying some items, gems and so on, I tried to record most of the trades that I did, and I would say this is pretty much accurate, about 95%. So I did spend 2 divines and 366 chaos. You just have to remember, this is like a mid-league, because we are after a month of the league. That's why some items are way cheaper. So if you would try to replicate this on the start of the league, you can think about it that some items are gonna be a bit more expensive. Right, to start this build, the minimum requirement is level 63, because you need to have those boots. But before that, you can level up as a Wave of Conviction build. You're still gonna be following the same passive tree as you're gonna be Wave of Conviction Ignite, and the only recommended links that I would just say, just have a Wave of Conviction, Ignite Prolif, and Added Fire. And eventually, once you get yourself to 63, then you can transition your build into a frostblink. I would really appreciate if you can hit the like button and subscribe button, as this will really help me out growing the channel. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later in my next video.